You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, let's talk about the WNBA, the Players Union, the CBA, and BS deadlines. My goodness. What is the point of hinting at a deadline or putting a deadline out there, making these claims that you're going to start losing preseason games? You're going to start losing parts of training camp. If you're not going to follow through, then you've got absolutely no power. Zero power. And the WNBA doesn't seem to understand. You control this. You can control this. We're watching the World Cup qualifying rounds right now. USA basketball against the world. There's a whole lot of other players out there that could come play in this league, really and truly. If you get right down to it, and I got to be honest with you, outside of Caitlin Clark, would you guys miss, really and truly, most any of these other players? Would you lose a solitary millisecond of sleep? My gut feeling is you wouldn't. You wouldn't. So, once again, another historic marathon session. What were y'all doing during that session exactly? Because it wasn't coming to a deal. And now another deadline, which was supposed to be today, has come and gone. Nothing. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert said progress is being made towards a new collective bargaining agreement getting done. Where's Adam Silver? I levy for a vote of no confidence in Cathy Engelbert. Somebody call Adam Silver in. God, rest in peace, David Stern. If David Stern was involved here, there'd be locks on the door already. He wouldn't have played at all. The two sides met for another marathon negotiating session that started Sunday afternoon and ended around 3 a.m. Monday morning. Quote, "We're working as hard as we can to get it done as quickly as possible," Engelbert said. "It's complex. There's a lot. There's a lot of system elements. There's a lot of structure elements. This is a big, big league, and we want to do everything we can for the players, so we're going to keep making progress." The two sides will get together again later Monday for a 7th consecutive day of talks. It has been a long week of discussions with the WNBA and union meeting face-to-face, more than 72 hours since the first in-person bargaining session Tuesday. Y'all should have been doing this 3 months ago, but okay. Quote, "We're going to keep going. We're going to get this deal done," Engelbert said. "And you know, it's going to be historic." Clock's ticking on the season right now. Union Executive Council members Brianna Stewart and Ephesia Collier, Alyssa Clark were the first to leave at 2 a.m. Nike Agumake and union leadership left an hour later after a 14-hour day. Again, none of these things make you a hero. You're doing the job they gave you to do. Is to sit in a room for 12 or 15 hours and negotiate. Quote, "The fact that they just don't want to stop both sides, it's not just the league, it's even the union." Connecticut Sun President Jen Rosati, "They want to get it done. It's admirable." Come on. It's admirable to know they're paying attention to the fact that this is crucial. Time is of the essence, and we need to have a season. It's admirable that they're paying attention. If they're not, find players that are paying attention. It's not admirable. They got a 5 times raise on the table, and they're not taking it. Having common sense would be admirable. Quote, "It's very important for us to nail down those two things, which I think are the biggest things on the agenda today. Of course, revenue sharing and housing is still a thing. We still want our housing paid for. Like we're a bunch of teenagers that left the house going to a dorm. Y'all are the average player is going to make over $500,000. Y'all worried about some housing. God, the regular citizen walking the planet could be so lucky. Agu McKay, the union's president, said Saturday between bargaining sessions, so we want to make sure that we can get that right. Guys, I've heard that the league has increased their revenue share by a 0.5. So instead of it being like a 15, it's now like a 15.5 net rev. All right. So I don't know how much progress. There's still, last we heard, the players were still down around 26%, but that was last Tuesday. The players have not let that leak since. Quote, we talked about revenue share, which is obviously going to be, I don't even really like calling it the elephant in the room. Like it's there, like we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. But housing is big. Housing is really big. Wow. And I think perhaps people understanding this negotiation or learning about it has really shown how meaningful something like housing benefit is, especially for the women in the W. Again, this is a social movement for these people. Teams have paid for player housing in the WNBA since the beginning, and the league wanted to amend that in the new CBA. Yeah, because they're giving you a 5 times raise. So they're like, yeah, go out on your own and spread your wings if we're going to pay you real money. That's why they wanted to get rid of it. Well, we're trying to enter this transitional space where we are now making enough money towards being able to take care of that, but we're not quite at that point where we can eliminate it outright. Wow, how much money would you need to get a 2-bedroom apartment? Question mark. Before the starting negotiations Tuesday night, the union had been asking for teams to continue paying for housing for players in the first few years of a new agreement. But in the last 2 years of the CBA, the franchises would no longer pay for housing for players that are making near maximum salary. Why should they? The person spoke on condition of anonymity because of the sensitive nature of the negotiations. In the same time period, the league proposed that they continue paying all players housing for the upcoming season, then change to only the rookies, as well as the players making the minimum salary. Good grief. If these two major items can get figured out, the season most likely will be able to start May 8th. But the clock is ticking. Engelbert said she didn't know if a training camp would be moved from April 19th if a deal isn't done very soon. I wish I knew the answer to that. I do not know the answer to that. But you see us here at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. So that gives us an indication that both sides are motivated at this time. Good grief. So let me ask you a question. If the commissioner doesn't know whether or not the training camp's getting moved, who the hell's got the answer to that? Nobody. I mean, it's your job. You're the person that gives the answer. And you're saying, I don't have an answer. What? Can we get somebody in here that knows what's going on from the league side? I'm going to tell you what I think now. I think they're taking an NFL approach. And this may be the only time you ever hear me compare these two leagues. I believe the WNBA has just decided we will lose training camp or however many days of training camp we need to. So, in other words, if there's only 3 days of a training camp, that's all we get. So they can use all that time leading up to preseason games as days here to cut in. All right? In other words, the NFL's already gotten rid of 2 preseason games. All right? They've made all these concessions on training camps and how they're worked and blah, blah, blah. They may just lose their training camp. They may hit the ground running. Now, what's that going to do for players and the product? Well, if you look at the NFL, it's going to get shittier. Which, after watching World Cup qualifying basketball, because look, that's W players out there playing, and outside of Caitlin Clark, they look like crap. They need all the training camp they can get. Jesus. Wow. Unbelievable. We don't know who's got the answer. You're right about that. Evidently, you don't. Still team owners. I don't give a damn. I mean, these players should have signed a deal 3 months ago. The moment they hit a $500,000 on average salary, boom, they should have signed that deal and got on with it. So, no sympathy for the players here whatsoever. Guys, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed. Check out blackwhitenetwork.com for cool things like the new official black and white sports football cap. That is awesome. Embroidered. Woo. I mean, I'm fixing to make one of these for this channel. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.